Hi, this is Kieran at Snickerdoodle Designs. And today we're going to take a look at smart objects in Photoshop and how they can help us in our digital layouts and projects. So just what is a smart object? I really like this definition from Stephen Johnson. And he writes, a smart object is a container in which you can embed raster or vector image data from another Photoshop or Illustrator file that retains all its original characteristics and remains fully editable. A smart object can be scaled, rotated, and warped non-destructively without losing original image data. So what does that mean for us as digital scrapbookers? The bottom line, the most important thing today is that it means we can work non-destructively when we work with smart objects. And I have a layout I'd love to show you. This is by Robin. I think it's just stunning. She used my kit Deck the Halls along with the Deck the Halls word art and my brand new border buddies set 14 to create this gorgeous border on the bottom. The word art graphic for this kit was actually quite a bit larger than this, and I'm sure Robin brought in her photos and her embellishments and played around with everything to get just the look she wanted before she decided the size of the word art graphic that was going to work best for her image, for her layout here. But what if you wanted to play around with that word art? What if you wanted to make it a little smaller and then decided, oh, I really wanted it a little bit bigger? If you were using it as a pixel-based embellishment, which is how we get our digital scrapbook embellishments and word arts, that would not be a good thing to do, to resize it down and then bring it back up, because you're going to use resolution. However, if you were using that word art as a smart object, that would definitely be possible. So let's take a look at what that means. I'm going to put a layer of white here so we can see a little bit better. Here's the original word art graphic. You can see it's a little bit, it's significantly larger than what Robin ended up with. And I have duplicated that for the left and the right here. I made them just a little bit smaller so they'd fit on the page and you could see them better. So these are all pixel based. And what we want to do is convert one of them to a smart object so we can see the difference between the pixel base and the smart object when we work with them. You can do that in one of three ways in Photoshop. I could have opened this word art using the place command instead of the open command, and that would have placed it as a smart object. I'm using Photoshop Creative Cloud 2014, and in my menu it says Place Linked. I believe in Photoshop 6 in previous versions it just says Place. Photoshop Elements users, this is how you would make a graphic into a smart object. You would use the File Place menu. You can also right-click on your layer and choose Convert to Smart Object, which I'm going to do right now. Or I could have gone up to, I believe it's Image, and maybe it's Layer, Smart Object, and then Convert to Smart Object. I never remember to do it that way because it's just easier to click on the layer. So now this is turned into a smart object, and we know that because it has a small little icon on the lower right corner of that layer. So now let's see how this works. Here's the left pixel based. I'm going to hit the Control T to bring up the transform tool. I'm going to make that real small, probably smaller than we would use on a layout, but just for the purposes of demonstration. And now let's do the same thing with the smart object to make that small as well. Okay. Now let's bring them back up to their original size. Here's the one on the left, the pixel based. I'll bring it back up to, I think it was maybe about there. And then let's do the same for the smart object. And that looks about right. Now let's look at those at 100%. And you can see the one on the right, which is a smart object, looks great. Looks just as clear as the original does. And if we come over to the pixel based, which is the one on the left, you can see it's lost its clarity. The resolution isn't good, and it just would not look good on a layout. Right side by side, you can really see the difference in those two graphics. So working non-destructively allows you to size your image down and then bring it back up without losing any quality. And in our digital scrapbooking, quality is so important. So let's make sure we work with smart objects when we can. When you're finished with that smart object, you can leave it that way to flatten your page, or you can convert it to a raster image if you like. Really no need to, just if you want to you can, and you can do that just by right clicking on it and going to Rasterize Layer, and now it's a pixel based image again. And if you brought it back down in size and brought it back up, you would experience the same thing that we did for that graphic over here on the left, because again it was pixel based. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something new, and I hope it is helpful in your layouts. See you next week.